serious is this? Are you surprised?
Well, I'm not surprised, largely due to the Fox reporting on this many, many months ago that substantiated what the whistleblowers were saying based on all the sources that Fox had. So no surprise here, but serious? Oh, this is dead serious. And the reason is you have senior leaders in Central Command, which is the command, for our viewers understand, that oversees the Middle East, and particularly the wars that we're fighting there in Afghanistan and Iraq. And those senior leaders in the Intelligence Directorate were manipulating these reports so that they'd be more favorable. And the outcome of that was not just in the intelligence reports that went out to the chain of command, but it found its way into press releases, into press conferences, and into General Austin's public testimony before the Senate and the House. So this is very, very serious.
All right, so Representative Mike Pompeo, he was on the task force, and this is how he described some of what they found. I want to pull this up on the screen from him. He says there's enormous evidence about how this information from talented career professionals inside the analytic arm of CENTCOM did their job and accurately depicted what was going on the ground, but when it got to very senior levels, that information was changed. General, it sounds like this is coming from the top here. The question is, how far up does it go? Do you think even President Obama might have known about this?
Well, there's an interesting part of the report. It does talk about the Director of National Intelligence Office, and the head of that is James Clapper, made multiple phone calls with CENTCOM on a weekly basis, obviously discussing intelligence. That's highly unusual because Central Command is not in their chain of command. They would normally go to the Defense Intelligence Agency, and they were not making those phone calls with any other combatant commands, according to the report. The report does not say that there is any evidence that the Director of National Intelligence was influenced Central Command to manipulate the reports, but it just leaves the implication there that based on the frequency of these phone calls and the uniqueness of the phone calls, something may not be right. Now, the Department of Defense IG is conducting a very thorough and comprehensive investigation, and they will get to the bottom of all of this because of the investigating arm that they have, which is considerably more significant than what the House had available to them. So there's more to follow on this. One, the House report in its final report, and two, the DOD IG report.
Yeah, we're going to have Representative Pompeo on in the 10 o'clock hour to hear more on this, so that'll be interesting. You know, you look over the past 8 years, General, and you think about the number of contradictions that have been made when hearing from leaders about our fight against ISIS across the board. How much harder does that make this fight?
Yeah, well, it certainly does. And, you know, when you said, does this come from the top? Let me just say this. I mean, I think it's been clear over dealing with this administration that the President of the United States has had a tendency to minimize the threat from our adversaries and to exaggerate the progress that we have made against them. And that has been very consistent, and it happened just as late as last week when he was talking about the progress being made against ISIS, that we've got them on the run and they're contained, when in fact they've expanded from 9 countries to 24. And they've conducted 100 attacks outside of Iraq and Syria, despite the territory that they've lost. So this manipulation of reports inside a major command, I have not seen since the Viet Nam War. So this is a very serious thing that is taking place here, and believe me, people will be held accountable for it.
Well, and this comes, of course, as we have our presidential election going on. Donald Trump saying yesterday, basically blaming President Obama and even Hillary Clinton for ISIS even becoming a thing. The timing of this is quite interesting.
Well, I don't get involved in political candidates' comments, but it is a fact that the administration's policies did contribute to the fact that we have ISIS as a reality. Walking away from Iraq certainly in 2011, and helping to create the stalemate in Syria, as opposed to throwing our weight behind the Syrian moderates and toppling the regime. That gave ISIS the opportunity to form this safe haven in Syria, which has been so destructive, because it's from the safe haven that everything that ISIS has been succeeding at comes from.
All right, General Jack Keane, always appreciate your analysis. Thanks for being